slowly stretch both feet up towards the ceiling. Just take a moment to relax here. Take your hands and clasp them behind your right hamstring, and then slowly lower your left leg all the way down to the mat. If that feels uncomfortable, you can also place the sole of your foot on the mat and bend your knee. Have your knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and just try to lower your hip down towards the mat. You can stay here, or you have the option to reach up and grab behind your calf. Just feel the stretch in your right hamstring. The option to flex your foot here or point it feels more comfortable. Soften in. You may find that you have a little more space to slowly start to hug that right leg in towards your body. But if your body is resisting, honor that and honor where you are today. Take one more slow, deep breath here. And then slowly lower your right leg down to the mat. Pause here. Take a moment to notice any differences between your legs. And then slowly bend your right knee in towards your chest. Give it a hug, and then extend it up towards the ceiling. Reach around and grab behind your left hamstring. You can keep your right leg straight or bend it, placing your sole on the mat. Just slowly start to bring your left hip down. You have the option to stay here, or you can bring your hands up to your calf. And slowly hug your left leg in towards your body, giving yourself a nice gentle stretch of your left hamstring. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Remember, you can have your left foot flexed here or pointed, whichever is more comfortable for you. Or you can play around and see which feels better. Take one more deep breath in here. And then slowly lower your right leg all the way down to the mat. Take a moment to pause here. And hug both knees into your chest. Slowly rock side to side, if that feels good for you. And come up to a seated position. From your seated position, flip your knees over, come into tabletop. Just take a moment to set up here. Bring your wrists in line with your shoulders, knees in line with your hips. Slowly start to rotate your hips from side to side, like you're churning butter with your hips. You can move with the rhythm of your breath. And come back to stillness in the middle. Slowly start to rotate in the opposite direction. Move with the rhythm of your breath. stillness in the middle. Make sure your knees are in line with your hips and slowly stretch your arms out in front of you. Forehead can come to the mat or chin can come into the mat. We're coming into puppy dog pose. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Stretch your arms out long. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly come back up to tabletop position. Walk your hands in towards your body. Ground down through your palms. Slowly start to gaze over your right shoulder and right hip. Squeezing in to the side like we're making a C with our body. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And come back to center. Slowly start to gaze over your left shoulder. Squeezing in. And come back to center. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together, sink back, come into child's pose. Forehead can rest on the mat. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly come back up to a tabletop position. Place your right foot between your hands. Tuck your left toes. Bring your left knee off the mat and slowly walk that left foot back. Drop your left knee down. Untuck your toes. Slowly start to rise up. Bring your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Come into crescent lunge. Pause here. Feel the stretch in your left hip flexor. Take a few slow, deep inhales here. Feel nice and tall through the crown. And slowly bring your hands back down to the mat. Start to sink your hips back. Stretch your right leg out long. Fold over your right leg, come into runner stretch. Your toes can be on the mat, on the right foot, or they can be slightly lifted off. Try to square your hips. Keep your back straight. Breathe into your right hamstring. Slowly start to bend into your right knee. Place your left hand on the mat. Bring your right hand to your hip or extend it overhead. You have the option to stay here, twisting open to the right side, or you can bring that right hand and try to reach around and grab for your left foot. Stretching out through your left thigh. Stretching out through your right hand or your right shoulder. Stay here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly lower your left foot down. Bring your right hand back down to the mat. Tuck your left toes. Lift your left knee off the mat. Ground down through the palms of your hand and step your right foot back to down dog. Pause here. Settle into your down dog. You can play around, come up onto your tiptoes, and then try to sink your heels down. At any point, you can come back down to a child's pose if this position is not serving you. And lower your knees down, come into tabletop. Place your left foot between your hands. Tuck your right toes under. Lift your right knee off the mat. Slowly start to walk that right foot back towards the back of your mat. Drop your knee back down to the ground and tuck your toes. Slowly start to rise up. Bring your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears, come into crescent lunge. Settle into the stretch in your right hip flexor. Stay nice and tall through the crown. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And slowly bring your hands back down to frame your front foot. Start to sink your hips back. Try to keep them square. And straighten that left leg, fold over it. Come into runner stretch. Feel the stretch in your left hamstring. Try to settle in. Breathe into any tension you may be feeling. And slowly bend into that left knee. Come back in to low lunge. Place your right hand on the mat. Bring your left hand to your hip. Twist open to the left side. Option to stay here or extend your left arm overhead. Option to stay here or bring that left hand around, grab for your right foot, stretching through that right hamstring and out through your left shoulder. Twisting open. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Slowly start to lower your left foot back down, or your right foot back down to the mat. Bring your left hand forward. Tuck your right toes under. Lift your right knee off the mat. Ground down through the palms of your hands and step your left foot back to down dog. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Lift your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Slowly start to rise up to high lunge. Send your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Interlace your fingers overhead. Pointer fingers can be pointed towards the sky. Take a deep inhale and grow tall through the crown. And on your exhale, slowly start to bend over towards the right side, stretching out through your right side body. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And come back up to center. Pause here. Release your hands. Keep them overhead. Slowly lower your right arm behind you. Bring your left arm out in front of you. Bring them parallel to the mat. Twist open to the right side. Try to stay nice and strong through the soles of your feet. Settle in here for 2 more deep breaths. And slowly bring your arms back overhead. Start to turn towards the top of your mat. Pause here. And slowly bring your hands back down to frame your front foot. Step back to down dog. Come forward to plank. Remember to tighten through your thighs and your glutes, tighten through your core. Take 1 more deep breath here. And slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes, hands are underneath your shoulders. Pushing down through the tops of your thighs and the tops of your feet. Slowly start to peel your heart off the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, come into cobra. Pause here. And slowly lower your chest back down to the mat. Tuck your toes, come back to down dog. Inhale, lift your left leg high behind you. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Round down through the soles of your feet and slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Stay nice and straight through your spine. Interlace your fingers overhead. Point your fingers towards the sky. Take a big inhale. And on your exhale, slowly start to draw your fingers over towards the left side of your mat. Bend over towards the left side. Feel the stretch in your right side body. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly come back up to center. Release your hands. Keep them overhead. Take a big inhale here. And slowly lower your left arm behind you, right arm in front of you. Bring your arms parallel to the mat. Stretch open to the left side. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Round down through the soles of your feet. You may feel this in your left quad. And slowly bring your arms overhead, twist back to the center. Slowly lower your hands back down to frame your front foot. Step back to down dog. Take a moment to find your breath here. And then slowly come up into plank. Pause here. Slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Hands are under your shoulders. Squeeze down through the tops of your feet and through your thighs. Slowly peel your heart off the mat. Come into cobra. You also have the option into up dog here. Pause here. And slowly lower your chest back down to the mat. Tuck your toes, push back to down dog. Just take a moment to pause here. And slowly lower your knees down to the mat. Come in to tabletop. Bring your knees out wide, Big toes together, sink back to child's pose. Pause here. And slowly come back to tabletop. Tuck your toes, bring your hips up and back, come into down dog. Slowly walk or float to the top of your mat, come into forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Ground down through your left foot. Slowly bring your right knee up towards your body. Find some balance here. Hug in through your core and your hips. You have the option to stay here, or you can reach underneath your foot, interlace your fingers, and slowly start to kick that right foot forward. Straighten your right leg. If you have a wall near you, you can also do this near a wall. You always have the option to just stay here with your knee up towards your chest. We're here for 2 more slow, deep breaths, wherever you would like to be. If you have your leg extended out in front of you, slowly come back in to a standing position with your right knee bent in towards your chest. Pause here. Slowly start to kick that right foot behind you. Bring your arms out in front of you. Come into warrior 3. You have the option to bring your arms out in front of you, bring your hands to heart center, or your arms can extend behind you in airplane wings. We're here for 3 slow, deep breaths. You always have the option to come out of this and stand in mountain pose. And slowly lower your hands down to the mat. Extend that right leg up behind you. Come into standing split. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And lower your right foot back down to the mat. Fold forward. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Ground down through your right foot. Slowly start to lift your left knee up towards your chest. You have the option to stay here. Your hands can be placed on your knee in heart center, or you can reach around, interlace your fingers underneath the sole of your left foot, extend your left leg out in front of you. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. Remember to hug in through your hips, in through your core. Stay nice and tall. If you have your leg extended out long, come back into a standing position with your left knee up towards your chest. Pause here. And slowly start to push that left foot back behind you. Come into warrior 3. Flex that left foot. You have the option to stay here or extend your arms out in front of you or behind you in airplane wings. Try to stay balanced. Focus on your drishti. And slowly lower your hands back down to the mat. Lift your left leg high in the air. Come into standing split. Take a few moments to pause here. And slowly lower your left foot back down to meet your right. Forward fold. Inhale, hands to shin, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Place your hands out on the mat in front of you. Step back to down dog. Pause here. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Inhale, reach your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Settle in here. Slowly start to anchor your left heel down. Bring your arms parallel to the mat. Bend into your right knee. Come into warrior two. Gaze over your right fingers. Pause here. Take a few slow, deep breaths. And flip your right palm. Slowly reach your arm overhead. Left arm comes down to your left calf. Come into reverse warrior. Stretch out through your right side body. Find your breath. And slowly come back up to warrior two. Bend your right elbow, place it on your right thigh. You can extend your arm overhead or over your ear. Come into extended side angle. Option to keep your right arm on your right thigh or drop it down to the mat. You also have the option to take a bind here if that's in your practice. Remember to keep your weight into your right heel. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And slowly rise back up to warrior two. Turn your right toes towards the long side of your mat. Bring your feet parallel to each other. We're in a wide-legged stance. Your big toes can be pointed in towards each other. Bring your hands to your hips. We're going to slowly start to hinge at the hips. Keep your back nice and straight. Slowly lowering all the way down to the mat. Hands can come down to the mat. Fold forward. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And start to walk your hands over to the right foot. Your left hand can come to the outside edge of your right foot or your right calf. You can bring your right hand to your hip or extend it overhead, twist over to the side. Gaze can be up over that right shoulder. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly bring your right hand down to the mat and fold forward. Slowly start to walk your hands over towards your left foot. Right hand can grab for the outside edge of your left foot or calf. Left hand can come to your hip or overhead. Gaze over your left shoulder. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly bring your hands back down to the mat, fold forward. Bring your hands to your hips, slowly rise all the way back up to standing. Turn your right toes back to the top of the mat, bend into your right knee, bring your arms parallel to the mat, come into warrior two. Pause here, and then slowly windmill your hands back down to frame your right foot. Spin off your back heel, step back to down dog. Pause here, and slowly come into plank. Slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Push the tops of your feet into the mat. Thighs are squeezed in, pushing into the mat. Slowly lift your heart off the mat, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Come into cobra. You can also come into up dog. Pause here, and then slowly lower your chest down to the mat. Tuck your toes, push back to down dog. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for a low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet. And slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Pause here. And then anchor your right heel down. Spin your arms open, bring parallel to the mat, come into warrior two. Flip your front palm. Slowly lift it overhead, reverse your warrior. Right arm is reaching down your right leg. Stretch out through the left side body. Slowly come back up to warrior two. Bend your left elbow, place it on your left thigh. Right arm can reach overhead or in line with your ear, come into extended side angle. Option to keep your left forearm on your thigh. You can drop your left hand down to the mat. Take a bind if that's in your practice. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And then slowly rise back up to warrior two. Start to straighten that left leg. Bring your left toes towards the long side of your mat. Bring your feet parallel to each other. We're in wide angle with our legs. Slowly start to tilt your toes out towards the outside edges of your mat. Heels are in towards each other. Bring your hands to your hips. Slowly start to bend your knees, sink your hips back. We're coming into goddess pose. You can keep your hands on your hips or bring your arms to goalposts if that feels comfortable. Keep your hips back and low. Sink your weight into your heels. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Keep your spine nice and tall. And slowly start to straighten your legs. Bring your hands to your hips. You can turn your left toes towards the top of the mat. Slowly sink into that left knee. Come into warrior two. Gaze over your left fingers. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot, spin off your back heel, and step back to down dog. Pause here. And then slowly start to bring your knees back down to the ground. Come into tabletop. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And come into an easy seated position. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, bring your right arm behind you, left arm in front of you. Twist open to the right side, gaze over your right shoulder. Grow nice and tall through your crown on each inhale. And on each exhale, twist a little deeper. Stay here for 2 more cycles of breath. And slowly come back to center. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Exhale, lower your left hand behind you, right hand in front of you. Gaze over the left shoulder. Grow nice and tall through the crown. And settle in. And slowly come back to center. Start to walk your hands out in front of you. Fold over your legs. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly start to walk your hands in towards your body. Sit up nice and tall. Roll over onto your sits bones. Bring your knees up, pointing towards the ceiling. Bring your hands behind you slightly. Start to lower your shoulders back. Lift your shins off the mat, parallel to the mat. Come into boat pose. Arms can be stretched out in front of you, or reach around and grab from behind your hamstrings for added support. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And slowly, with control, we're going to start to lower and straighten our legs down to the mat and hover our shoulders off the mat, come into low boat pose. You will feel your core start to shake here. Try to stay with it. You always have the option to come into a resting position. Try to stay with me for 3 more deep breaths. And with control, try to come back up to boat pose. Shins parallel to the mat. You should really feel this in your core. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And slowly lower your soles of your feet down to the mat. Bring your arms behind you. Fingers pointing towards your heels. Ground down through your hands and the soles of your feet. Slowly lift your hips off the mat, come into reverse tabletop. You can sink your head back. Pause here. Lift up through your hips. And then slowly start to lower your hips back down to the mat. And come back up to a seated position. some stillness here. You can just come right into a supine position, or you can try to bring your core into this. So if you're gonna follow along with me, we're just gonna slowly start to lower one vertebrae at a time, engaging our core, and slowly lower our shoulders down to the mat. Pause here. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Extend your right leg up towards the sky. Point your toes out towards the right side and cross your right ankle over your left knee. Come into figure four. You have the option to stay here or clasp your hands behind your left hamstring or shin. Come into reclined figure four. Pause here. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Release your hands, place your hands down by your hips, slowly lower your left foot down to the mat. Keeping your right ankle over your left, slowly start to lift your hips off the mat and come in to a modified bridge pose here. Try to stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Tighten through your glutes. And slowly lower your hips back down to the mat. Stretch your arms out wide into a T and slowly lower your right foot down towards the left side. Gaze over your right shoulder. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. And slowly bring your knees back to center. Unhook your right ankle, place it down on the mat. Hands can come back by your hips. Stretch your left leg high in the air. Turn your toes out towards the left side. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Come into reclined figure four. You have the option to stay here or reach behind and clasp your fingers behind your right hamstring or your shin. You take the option that works for you. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Release your hands back down towards your hips. Slowly lower your right foot back down to the mat. Keep your left leg crossed over your right knee. Ground down through your right foot and slowly start to lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Come into a modified bridge pose. We're here for 3 slow, deep breaths. Tighten through your glutes, tighten through your core. Stay nice and grounded through your right foot. And slowly lower your hips back down to the mat. Anchor your arms out to a T and slowly lower your left foot down to the right side of your mat. Gaze over your left shoulder. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Slowly bring your knees back up to center. Release your left foot down to the mat. Hands can come by your hips. Hug both knees in towards your chest. Maybe rock side to side if that feels good for you. And at this time, I invite you to take any inversion you would like. I'm going to do legs up the wall, so I'm just going to slowly stretch my feet up towards the ceiling, but you are free to come in to shoulder stand, plow, headstand, handstand, whatever works for you. Just take a few moments to find your inversion. Start to tune into your breath. Try to focus in. We're here for 5 slow, deep breaths. Slowly start to bring your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice hug. Maybe rock side to side. And when you're ready, find your way into relaxation. Maybe bring your feet out wide. Turn your palms up. Close your eyes and settle in, softening in to the mat, releasing any tension you may be feeling. Soften in through your head, through the space between your eyes, releasing anything you feel in your neck and your shoulders, relaxing through your arms and your wrists and your fingers. Relax your hips, your thighs. Relax your knees and your shins, calves. Relax your ankles. Feel the ground against your feet. Relax in. Tune in. Find the peace within yourself. start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You have the option to stretch your arms overhead, stretch out through your toes, come into a morning stretch. Or you can hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe pause here in stillness. Or find your way onto your side. Pausing here before making your way up to a seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes. Take a moment to feel how you feel after practicing self-care, and honor yourself for showing up on your mat, making space for yourself. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. The light in me sees and honors the light in each one of you.